Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. And here we are. It's 2021, we're $28 trillion in debt, we've got record trade deficits, record US federal deficits, $162 trillion in US unfunded liabilities, and silver is 25 bucks an ounce, the only metal trading below its 1980 levels. And the ink is barely dry on the $1.9 trillion COVID relief stimulus bill. You know, the one we each got our little $1,400 piece of. And we've wasted no time at all. Already, the current administration is proposing and attempting to push through a $3 trillion economic program and infrastructure bill. Now, regardless of how you feel about government spending and infrastructure, maybe that is a good way for the government to allocate resources. I would tend to disagree with that statement, but let's just go ahead and say that it is a good use of resources. There's still a glaring problem with this $3 trillion stimulus program, or infrastructure bill, or economic program, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. It's just more government spending and debt creation. And that is, of course, the problem, the debt creation, because it's not like the government has $3 trillion. In fact, they're broke. They're already $28 trillion in the hole and counting. It wasn't too long ago I was saying 27 trillion, and now I've got to get used to saying 28. But I can't get too used to it because it'll be 29 soon, and then 30, and who knows how high we're going to see it go. One real burning question I've had for a while now is, are we going to see quadrillion dollar debts? I wonder if the whole house of cards will stick together long enough for us to actually see a quadrillion dollars in debt. Because at the exponential pace that the debt is growing, that is exactly what we are going to see. And I'd like to know what you think. How long do you think this can go on? How high can the debt go? Let me know in the comments below. It took about 200 years for the US to accumulate its first $1 trillion in debt, and we hit that number back in 1981. And now, in just a short 40 years, we've racked up $28 trillion and no sign of stopping. Central banks and the current administration and current policymakers are putting the pedal to the metal in terms of debt creation. The rate of debt accumulation is accelerating rapidly, and we're going to see this continue in an exponential manner. In fact, it seems like almost any adversity or problem or struggle that we face is going to be met by the same exact response from policymakers and central banks. Spend more and create more debt. It's the new magic solution to all our problems. Just never mind the rapidly dwindling value of your fiat currency. Don't mind that. And, there's plenty of political will for this from both sides. Nobody is advocating for genuine fiscal restraint. It seems like there's just no real opposition to this. Sure, you might see some token resistance from Republicans and conservatives, but they're only opposed to spending that their constituents don't directly benefit from. They're still going to vote for the pork that goes into their state's pockets and that keeps going towards buying them votes. It's not really opposition to spending if you just want the government to spend money on you. It's just squabbling over who gets a bigger piece of the pie. And that's clearly what this has devolved to. I think it's likely that we'll see this $3 trillion package go through. I don't see who's going to oppose it. Sure, they'll tweak it here or there, this person will get some and this organization won't, but nothing fundamental. There's still going to be a ton of borrowing, on the order of trillions of dollars. And I mentioned in previous videos about how the $1.9 trillion stimulus wouldn't be the last big one we'd see, and obviously that was true, and I'll say the same thing about this $3 trillion package. Because more spending is coming. They're just going to run these printing presses. They've got to keep this sucker moving along. If they don't, the whole thing could fall apart. We've got tons of people unemployed or who have left the workforce entirely. We've got these enormous trade deficits. Cargo ships are leaving the US empty to go back to Asia because we have nothing to export to them, and there are barely enough container ships to load up all their manufactured goods and send over to us. So for anybody out there who thinks this is sustainable, you've got another thing coming. It's like Ayn Rand said, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. Well, we can pretend that writing some words on a piece of paper and then having people sign it into law and then creating a bunch of digital currency in a bank's computer and spending it will solve all our problems. But that is the equivalent of ignoring reality. And the consequences that we'll have to face as a result are going to be serious. Right now, prices have risen for the US consumer, and the CPI numbers don't accurately reflect the real amount of price inflation we have. It is worse than that, even now. But in the future, the amount of inflation that we have now is going to seem like child's play when we look back on it. Right now, these are the good times. It's when the consequences of all this debt creation and money printing begin to manifest that things are going to be tough. Now, today, silver is $25 an ounce. This is an unbelievably low price that we are able to take advantage of. And I don't give financial advice. I'm just a guy on YouTube. You guys should not be making investment decisions based on what I say. You need to do your own due diligence and research. But in my opinion, when this whole fiat currency charade is over and we see a loss of confidence in the dollar price of silver might not even be a factor anymore. That's why I'm still stacking silver in 2021, and I will be stacking silver until I cannot get my hands on it anymore. And if it worries you to see a $28 trillion debt growing exponentially larger with no end in sight, like if you have a normal, rational reaction to that fact, then you might want to stack some too. Precious metals have been an effective way to preserve wealth for thousands of years, and there's no reason to think that they won't be this time around. So if you guys like this video and you'd like to hear more about the possibility of a global hyperinflation, check out my hyperinflation playlist right here. And I will catch you guys next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Smart Silver Stacker out.